Alexander. So now you think you're the franchise. Franchise takes 5. We're doing the run-in. Well, guess what? If you ever ran in on me, I'd give you all 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And that goes for anybody else on Heel Turn Wrestling.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is Billy Alexander, and we are live right now on Heel Turn Wrestling's YouTube page. Make sure to hop over there and check out all of the latest and up-to-date broadcasts, podcasts, videocasts, whatever it is that anybody on this channel wants to do, and they can put it on the YouTube page. Make sure to check it out right then and there. Guys, this is episode 4. Woo! Episode 4 of The Run-In. That's right. Should be right there somewhere. Anyway, The Run-In is a special show brought to you by myself. Nobody else here at Heel Turn Wrestling. This is my show, my words, my thoughts, my opinions, and everything else. So it doesn't really matter what's said by anybody else or anything else. This is my show. Disclaimer should come in somewhere around here. Whoop. There it is. Anyway, for the first time people out there, this is called The Run-In. This is what we do. We run in, out the door we go. The Run-In is an informational show to come right in, hit you in the face multiple times with a bunch of news or a bunch of stuff from the old days, or what ifs, or never was, or anything like that. Today's kind of a mixture. Let's kind of do like a what if and maybe it never was, but we'll see how it goes along the line. But guys, if you've been here before, you know how the show goes. Welcome back to the show. We appreciate it. And here we go. No, I'm just kidding. Anyway, guys, today, as I told you on the last episode, this week we'll be talking about some more death. And we'll be talking about some things that, well, you just didn't do back then. So, ladies and gentlemen, let's get right into it. Let's start off with the first topic tonight. What if Owen Hart said no to the stunt? I'll wait. Nobody? Nothing? Alright, so this may seem a little morbid. I mean, we went from Chris Benoit and Eddie Guerrero, and now we're talking about Owen. It's not really all that morbid, but we'll go ahead and discuss the tragic death of the late, great Owen Hart. See, Owen Hart, at this point in the time of the Attitude Era WWE, was well underway. Hart had found success years before in a phenomenal feud with his brother Bret, which took him to the heights that you'd never seen before. It would put Owen right on that top part of the top rope. Bret, who really wasn't a main player as others, had sent him to the top of the card, and Bret was already gone to WCW. Owen was still reeling and having nearly paralyzing Stone Cold Steve Austin from SummerSlam in '97 when he went to do the pile driver, and Austin's head had slipped, and when he hit, he compressed the vertebrae right here, and almost paralyzing Stone Cold Steve Austin for the rest of his fucking life. He did join a Nation Domination while feuding with DX, something that couldn't have been easy given the Hart family history. He stayed with that gimmick for just a while, returning as the Blue Blazer. Now, everybody knows Owen Hart, the Blue Blazer. Not Mr. America, Blue Blazer. Let's get that out there. They first debuted in the late 1980s with WWE. Back then, WWF. He was always known to be a prankster, as everybody knows. There's many stories out there about how he always pranked everybody, always having a good time. I can't remember how the story goes 100%, but there is a story out there where he kept calling one of his fellow mates' hotel room over and over and causing some issues. It was pretty good. Alongside Jeff Jarrett tried to say that he wasn't the Blue Blazer, but will go on to say he wasn't the Blue Blazer while he was standing alongside of Jeff Jarrett during their tag title run and everything else. Some great segments. He was so fantastic in the ring, and he and Jarrett actually won tag team gold. The Blue Blazer gimmick was supposed to be a superhero, kind of like what you saw with Hurricane Helms and some of the others that kind of came through, which was completely opposite of what WWE was doing at the time. The night of the May 1999 pay-per-view, Over the Edge, Owen Hart was to come in to a match with the Godfather. He was supposed to ascend from this harness. Was to be hooked, kind of like what Sting did in WCW. It was hooked into a mechanism. A harness was placed on him. Kind of the same thing as like what Shawn Michaels wore at WrestleMania when he came out of the ceiling. But it was a harness and everything strapped, and it was supposed to go into what this deal. The device, something happened. A clip or the main structure, something happened. I remember watching the pay-per-view. And I forgot to time this, son of a bitch. I remember watching the pay-per-view, and they built the video package for us for the match. And right after that video package happened, they repeated it. I mean, it literally went whoosh, right back, like it just rewound and played all over again. And we're like, wait a minute, what's going on? Nobody knew what was going on. And then they came back from that video package. The camera was placed on Jim Ross and Jerry the King Lawler at the time. And Jim Ross had the unfortunate duty of having to live on pay-per-view in front of millions explain that Owen Hart was to ascend from the ring, from the ceiling of the arena down to the ring before his match with the Godfather, and something had happened. Owen Hart fell 80 plus feet from where he was at up there, all the way down, clipping his head on the turnbuckle or the ring post, they said, and died in the ring. Jim Ross had to sit there and tell us what had happened when everybody in the back is freaking out. The people in attendance are freaking out, not knowing if it's real, not knowing if it's part of the show, until it got to the point where it had to be told. Brett was already in WCW. I could only imagine what it was like to get that phone call. But what if Owen would have never did that stunt? So let's take the upside here. Let's get out of the darkness, and everything like this. Now, Owen was one of the best to ever lace up a pair of boots. Now, he wasn't overly big, he wasn't real tall, but he was right at that height. I mean, you talk about like the Dean Malenkos, the Eddie Guerreros, the Chris Benoits, the Bret Harts, the Owen Harts, the Jeff Jarretts, the Kurt Angles, AJ Styles, Daniel Bryan, those guys right at that height, just under 6 foot. Owen Hart was great. The game moniker Triple H took came from Owen Hart. The thing about Owen is he was set to get this really big push. He was booked to win the IC title the night he died. I mean, this would have been the Intercontinental Championship title would have been the stepping stone for Owen Hart at that time. Owen Hart would have skyrocketed right up that ladder off of that IC title win, leading to some great feuds down the road, and possibly to be one of the greatest Intercontinental Champions of all time. I mean, he'd be right up there with the Honky Tonk and the Miz, and stuff You know, Owen Hart could have been one of the greatest Intercontinental Champions ever. But it just didn't work out. Rest in peace, Owen Hart. A great worker. A lot of people miss you. Sometimes when I'm watching some older stuff and one of your matches come on, I double check to see which match it is, because you had a lot of really good matches. But if Owen Hart would have never taken that stunt, Owen Hart, I do believe, would have catapulted off the Intercontinental Championship straight into main event status to where he could have been a champion, a WWE champion or a world champion or whichever it was. That would have been a really good picture for Owen Hart. They would have turned his career around tremendously. Moving on, let's get out of that. What if Sting had signed with WWE earlier than he actually did? Now, there's a lot of people still a little pissy over this whole deal. So, Vince McMahon comes in, buys out Ted Turner's WCW, owns WCW. They try to pull off the big invasion angle, which would have worked. Would have worked if they would have actually had WCW talent and not the B roster. But those guys were getting paid such big time money for their contracts to run out. They just sat at home and that was it. And they tried everything they possibly could to make this invasion angle work with what they had, and it just didn't work. But if Sting would have made it over to WWE those years back, okay, Sting is the cornerstone of WCW, as the Taker is the cornerstone of WWE. During the era, the biggest names in the business were, flip-flopping. You watched the debut episode of Monday Nitro coming to you live from the Mall of America, and all of a sudden there's fucking Lex Luger walking out, and they're like, well, what is he doing here? Blah, blah, blah. He's under contract with blah, blah, blah. He was literally just on a pay-per-view the night before. And then WWE TV the week of. And then all of a sudden, Monday Nitro debuts, in the match, and all of a sudden here comes Lex Luger walking out, and everybody's like, whoa, what the fuck? Now, if Sting would have jumped back then, Sting would have had some great matches. We would have gotten the Undertaker-Sting match that we all rightfully deserved at that time when it should have happened. Sting and Shawn Michaels, Sting and possibility of Sting and Bret Hart even. Sting and Triple H. There's some good stuff that would have happened, and we could have had a longer program coming off the Undertaker and Sting deal. But if you would have signed earlier and everything like that before, there was a problem. One of the biggest things Sting always said was that the money was there and everything. The biggest reason I didn't jump was the fact that they didn't know what to do with me then. Absolutely true. You can't have now. Would the fans would the fans have gone ape shit if the Monday night after WrestleMania, all of a sudden it goes black, and then that music hits, and there's lightning all over the place, the fucking building shaking to its fucking bottom of the foundation, and then boom, there he is in the top of the building, or dropping down into the ring. At that time, it would have been fucking phenomenal. And that's no pun toward JJ. It would have been something special. It would have been great to see, and everything like that. Let's say Sting jumps at the time of the Monday Night War. He was coming off a big deal with Hulk Hogan and the NWO despite a lackluster finish in Starrcade in 97. Now, I remember Starrcade in 97. See, I was 17. The Rod and Gun Bar was still available in my hometown, and somebody told me they bought the Starrcade pay-per-view. So I had a full beard. I looked as as old as I'm to be, and I went into the bar, sat down, and I watched this pay-per-view. Sting comes out, Hogan comes out. They stand face to face, and Sting's jacked. He is well over the spot of being bigger than Hulk Hogan. It was something I wished it could have been a lot better when it happened. If Goldberg was rising faster than anybody in the history of wrestling, Sting jumps. WCW would have had Ric Flair and Goldberg and the rest of them down there to contend. Would WCW have survived? Would they have made it? Yeah, they probably would have. But it probably would have been dragging on like the last 10 years. Not last 10 years, I'm sorry. Like the last 6, 7, 8 years of TNA has. Just drug across the ground, barely surviving. Scenario 2, WCW folded out. Sting signs with WWE as 2001 as part of the invasion. Now, we talked about it. Possibilities here. Shawn Michaels came back that year. The Undertaker rid himself of the biker gimmick. Sting and The Rock would have been great because The Rock was in his prime. Triple H sort of talked about it. We would have had a Sting Triple H match that we rightfully deserved instead of the watered down bullshit at WrestleMania 31. Sorry, it's been a long week. And what if he did? What would have happened with TNA at that time? I mean, a lot of big names ended up there. You had Foley and Nash and Hogan, Bischoff, Angle, Sting, Jeff Jarrett. I mean, there was a lot of big names that it was down there in TNA at the time. He came in early, gave the promotion legitimacy. The Icon finally came to WWE in 2014. Triple H and Seth Rollins. The match with Seth Rollins should have never happened. I think they just needed that one last kick to the groin of Sting with the Triple H match there at WrestleMania. Speaking of Triple H, sorry guys, long week. One of the biggest draws of professional wrestling, period. I mean, just is. Triple H can make a claim to being on this list, top of the list, top 3, top 2, number 1, or even above the number 1. I mean, that's just how he is. He runs a $1 billion company. But what if he would have stayed with China instead of dating Stephanie McMahon and being where he is today? The knowledge of the industry as a whole is just amazing. NXT into a brand of its own. It's a whole nother company, guys. Legitimately. I mean, you got your Raw, SmackDown, and then there's NXT. I mean, that's just how it is. He was a driving force behind the number of successful ventures. The talk was to have maybe him and Stephanie maybe be the ones running WWE as Vince would step away. We all know it's not going to happen. Vince is going to stay there till he dies there in the office. I mean, what if? Because if he would have stayed with China and never ended up with Stephanie, he probably wouldn't be where he is today. I mean, after Michaels retired the first time there at WrestleMania 14, Triple H solely leading DX and made it his own. It was a whole nother thing. When DX formed totally all together, I loved it. When Shawn Michaels and Triple H were DXing, it was some good stuff. When Triple H took over and ran DX, that was some of the best stuff DX ever did. Won his first championship the following year. But the storyline marriage, originally with Stephanie, is where it blossomed And, for 2.5, 3 years, the McMahon-Helmsley era dominated the industry. He had a huge program with Mick Foley. He's won more world titles and became one of the biggest stars in the industry to this day. Triple H and Mick Foley matches, man, there's some great, great matches. Then we found out about the real life deal between Stephanie and Triple H. Chyna went on and found success for herself. But by the time of 2001, she was bye-bye. Claims she was sent home for a contract to just expire out after she had a meeting with Vince about Stephanie. So there's another what-if scenario. Chyna's career and life gone differently had Triple H not left her, for Stephanie. I would say, yeah, I think Chyna would probably had a longer spot in WWE and maybe had gone on to a little bit better stuff. Instead, Chyna goes through this depressional area type deal, trying to find this to do, that to do, and then ends up in porn. And we all know from there. Regardless of Stephanie or Chyna, Triple H would have always had a huge career, no matter what. Hall of Fame career at that. Probably going to be a huge person in the office for the time being from now on to the end of existence. Now, one of the biggest things in wrestling history, wrestling business, they just dropped jaws to the floor. Now, when Hulk Hogan turned Bash to the Beach and joined the NWO as the third man, spoiler alert if you didn't fucking know that, guys, seriously, come the fuck on. That's where that tack hammer comes in. In 1996, right before Kevin Nash, Scott Hall jumped, there was a show in Madison Square Garden. At the time, it was Razor Ramon and Shawn Michaels baby-faced as Diesel and Triple H were heels. If I remember that right, let me double check to make sure I don't. Yeah, Triple H and Diesel were heels. Just wanted to double check my words that I typed up here. Said, hey man, these guys are leaving. We're all friends. Do you care if we enter the ring, after the show's over? Because since it's not being public on TV, no one's really going to see it. No one's really going to care. Yeah, man, do what you got. Blah, blah. Scott Hall, Kevin Nash, as we know, jumped. Had contracts signed, and we're jumping from WWE to WCW in April. The final night was May 19th, Madison Square Garden. Basically, Shawn Michaels and Kevin Nash had a steel cage match to end the show that night. Shawn Michaels won that match. And after the finish had happened, Scott Hall got in the ring and, of course, hugged HBK. At the time, it wasn't a big deal because they're good guys, so no one really saw anything. But when Triple H got in the ring and then the good guys and the bad guys shook hands and hugged it out, the building lost their shit. Now, a lot of behind-the-scenes stuff we see today in wrestling is put out for documentary reasons and everything else. And you can see a lot of it on the network now. But in '96, that wasn't really a thing that you did. It made it worse. But the biggest issue that made it was that there was people in the crowd who recorded this, and it got out. The best thing about it is at that time there really wasn't the smartphones that was able to record video. So these guys snuck in a video camera and they recorded what is now known as the curtain call. They smuggled a video camera in, past security and filmed the entire thing. And the news spread like wildfire, burning through Australia. Ooh, was that a little much? Sorry. Vince was livid. Absolutely fucking ballistic. Hall and Nash were leaving, so he couldn't do anything about them. So he decided to take it out on Triple H. He blamed Triple H for all of it. Said it was all bullshit. It was his deal. He lied to him. Shawn was champ at the time, so they weren't going to do anything to him. So Triple H is the one that ended up taking the fall. And he got screwed on that deal for a while. But he became one of the greatest leaders in the locker room up there with The Undertaker because of this. He was set to win King of the Ring that year. And because this happened, they decided that it was like, no, we ain't gonna do that. We're gonna go with this guy here, and we're gonna make the Ringmaster the winner of the 96 King of the Ring. Stone Cold Steve Austin comes out, wrestles all the way through, beats Jake the Snake, goes up and cuts his legendary promo. You want to talk about your prayers? You want to talk about reading your John 3:16 and your Psalms? But Austin 3:16 says, I just whooped your ass. One of the greatest promos ever, and everybody was stunned. I mean, the look on P.S. Hayes' face when it happened was great. Greatest promo ever. Led to the biggest push for Stone Cold Steve Austin ever. So the curtain call never happened. Triple H goes on and wins King of the Ring. The career goes faster than it probably should. Did we ever get the promo from Austin that we needed to set off the time span? Never. Would never have happened. But those are the what ifs for today in professional wrestling. Guys, that's it. I gotta go hit the music, play, whatever you gotta do. I'll see you next time. Don't forget, this is episode 4. Woo! Can't be copyrighted on that one. Woo, woo, woo! Let's do it a couple more. Woo! A couple more times. Anyway, guys, I'm out of here. Guys, wrestling needs to come back. I'm tired of these empty arena matches. I'm tired of these empty arena shows. I'm about to cancel the biggest wrestling show to date for my company. And I don't want to do that because we have Kevin Nash coming in. God, I hate COVID-19. I hate the coronavirus and everything else. But guys, why are you still here? Leave. No, you gotta go. No, please leave.